Yeah, manze hiyo tune inachuna vizuri sana. Welcome Mang'u men, welcome all fans of this channel. We are proud to bring to you our very first episode and upload on YouTube about health and wellness for men in their 40s. It's going to be brought to you by Dr. Bosire Bundi, a proud Mang'u man from the year 2000. So please subscribe, like and comment so that we can grow this channel together and so that we can continue to bring you more insightful content like this one. So without further ado, Dr. Bosire Bundi.
Health is a factor of many things, and your mental well-being is one of those most important factors in health. And so factors that influence mental well-being, just a general environment. At 40, and my small experience with friends and colleagues and myself, I think we realize that family plays a major role in our own well-being. Basically, if you're to be in proper mental peace, then factors like your family life, your immediate nuclear family, your wife, your kids, anxieties and joys, and around that small setup, interactions with the larger family, the extended families from your own side, your siblings, your folks, the people who you interact with, your partners, their families, their folks. But then also realize that one of those important things that as you approach this age, is to have a strong network, a strong network of people you can rely on, friends, true friends. Someone told me, I attended some conference, and someone told me that this is the age where you decide on intentional friendships. You have to be very, very selfish with yourself and decide who really needs to be in my close circle. Do they add value to your well-being? Do they drain you? Are they triggers to your mental well-being? Do they distract you from your goals? Your course, a path you want to pursue. And so we need, at 40, then a man for mental well-being requires a good network, a good community, a support base, basically. Mentorship. You need people to hold you up, give you direction. We face challenges. We have anxieties. We need people that you can turn on when you need guidance, be it at the workplace, be it at the health place. And you realize that small communities, some small networks where you can give someone a call, you can reach out, discuss a thing, you can throw in a message, basically like a group like this, ours, the Mang'u 2K group, which has this varied professionals, becomes one of those groups that you may not realize, but may play a good key, a major role in just allaying a few anxieties. You're stuck somewhere and you're wondering, do I know a doctor I can give a quick call and give me guidance on how to proceed regarding? Then probably you remember, there's a Dr. Bosire. You're somewhere and you're thinking, I have an issue with my line here. There's someone at Safaricom. You want to put up a structure. There's an architect here, there. Yeah.
So just to chime in there, Bosire. So what you're saying there is that you need a support group that helps you have peace of mind.
Correct.
Alleviate stress and anxiety. So the core of it is having a supportive environment that removes stress nyingi. Yani hauna stress nyingi.
Yes, exactly. Kushare stress.
Is it scientifically proven that stress can lead to physical illness?
The thing is this, now, medically speaking, what stress does is the opposite of what joy and being happy does. So the hormones that stress triggers are the anti well-being hormones. So the kind of, imagine yourself in a scenario where probably a lion has just showed up. The hormones that will be released, the fight hormones. They overwhelm, they give you the energy to take off, but they also take too much from your system. you by the time you're off and you've run away from the lion, then you're tired, your heart is beating, you're sweaty. Basically, stress triggers those kind of hormones, so that have a toll on yourself. The best example I give is relationships. You being dumped. You've seen people leave relationships and lose weight, right? They can't sleep, they can't feed, and that is not, it's not disease, it's not tangible, like you won't test it and find a virus or a bacteria. But basically that is how much stress can take you down. So basically it's scientifically proven, and if you watch around you, or how, even a random one, how witchcraft works. Like probably you and me, if we met a dead chameleon at your door front, you'll pick it out and throw it away and nothing will happen. In a different setup, someone brought up the different thought process. We'll see that and may collapse at that door, or may find it difficult to walk beyond that door. Na hiyo anxiety na hizo fears, the guy will lose weight, and those hormones will take off. Now, what those hormones do is they reduce your immunity, so they fight your normal cell. At the cell level, your metabolism now will be hyperactive and different. So the cells, the cells that are supposed to fight infection, they drop. So you end up anemic, you're catching infections that you generally will not fight. Basically, stress can cause immunosuppression. The immunity can drop because of your stressful situations or a stressful state. And then so you're more liable to catching infections. And so you may catch an infection that you wouldn't have caught if you were all healthy and happy, and or that you may catch TB that eventually kills you. So it's basically a whole circus of things that can occur from mental stress.
Thank you for that. So
yes,
people have got different ways of coping with stress, and I think
yes,
it's what we call stress coping mechanism. Some people turn to religion, to God. Some people just maybe go out and have a good time with their friends. So it doesn't matter which your stress coping mechanism is, as long as you don't let stress overwhelm you, isn't? Is that what you'd recommend?
Yes, basically, again, at this age, you need to be extremely self-aware and get to know these things that your strengths. Know your triggers. Try to understand what triggers your triggers in terms of stress or otherwise, and then it would be nice if you would have found a way out, solutions to your triggers. Is it religion? Is it talking to a friend? Is it talking to an elder one? Is it going out for a jog, exercise? So find, know your triggers, and avoid your triggers, avoidance. If
What if your trigger is your better half?
Now, your better half, especially in marriage, where there are things that make it very difficult and harder to live, family. Your triggers in a strong family setup is a difficult. The answers are not easy, so that will be a process, right? Yeah, but triggers in a new relationship, a person you met the other day, then the easiest solution is say run, right? Avoid, run, yes. But for those that are difficult to live, then I think that can be a full topic. Basically, is you must find a solution. And for mental health, especially the home setup, where then your trigger is at home, that is major. That then I think that is a discussion we can have and discuss the whole day. But the thing is this, that you need to sort that one soon as you can, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that will have. You need to find peace at home, earliest. And if you've done your bit and it doesn't seem to be forthcoming, I think 40, you can still live another 50 years. So probably at 40, you're not yet halfway there. So don't die earlier than you're meant to by sticking to that setup, right? It's okay. Let's say it's okay to live, but try sort it. Make sure you find joy at home. If you can't find it, having worked as hard as you can, then I think the advice we should give ourselves is it's okay to live. Right?
Permission. You have been given permission by the doctor. prescription. Anyway, I invite questions on this section here, mental health.
I think to save on time, you can just proceed with the sections, and then people can put the comments in the chat, then you can answer them as we go along.
So that's even a better option. Yes. Okay, carry on then. Carry on.
Thank you. So next, as you know, in 40 and above, is physical fitness. Physical fitness, I think we that is general. But what I will say this from a doctor's perspective is that you need to do, like, physically, you need to have at least 3 things going on. You need to be working on your cardiac fitness. You need to be fit enough to carry out your daily activities. You need to be able to walk around, basically you need to be able to work out, to exercise. So basically you need cardiac fitness. That's why we tell people, make sure you're always walking around, make sure you're jogging. Basically they say give yourself 30 minutes to 1 hour of workout, simple workout, be it jog or walk, swimming, cycling. At least they say at least 3 times a week. We don't all do it. My good friend Alex Mbogo is always on my case. He always reminds me that wewe ndo daktari na wewe ufanyangi exercise. I'm always finding excuses to not work out. So basically it's cardiac fitness. Yes, and then in matters physical fitness, you need strength. You need to do a few of the strengthening exercises, basically to ensure muscle mass. You don't lose muscle mass. What happens is that after 40, usually it's 30 and beyond, you start losing the strength that you'd acquired up to 30 years. The argument is whether you start losing it at 30 or you lose it at 40. But for sure, it's at 40, then it starts deteriorating. So if you maintain the same lifestyle that you had approaching 40 and you don't modify, then you'll start losing your muscle mass and you'll start using your bone strength. So the advice is make sure you're in a regime, a routine that ensures that you don't lose muscle mass. If anything, you need it more than a 30-year-old, because them, they already have it there, so because you're losing, then you need to work a little harder than a 30-year-old to maintain your muscle mass. You need to work harder to, strength exercises to maintain your bone mass, bone density. All this, of course, will make your future better. As you approach 50 and you've been working out for 10 years plus, your bone strength is probably back to a 30-year-old or, even a 40-year-old at 50. And so your chances of, a small twist and you break a bone, a small twist and you dislocate a hip are less. So basically you're investing in your 60s and 70s. You see 70-year-olds who can do circles around a field. I mean, those are people to envy. You want to pray and wish to God that at 70 you'll be able to even lift a 20-liter. Basically get there with your body, your muscles and bones used to heavy activity, and then you'll have it easier through the old age. Mix your exercises, vary your exercises between what we call cardio and strength. But of course the line here is that don't overdo it. Listen to your body, right? Because I see, like, for me as a radiologist, because we look at images basically, I see a lot of my client list are people who are trying to exercise, are people who are fit in terms of in imaging, especially when you're in like MRI, where you're looking at muscles and joints. A big list of your client list will be people who are actually fit. So why are they fit in hospital? Basically because you're overdoing it. They're tearing their tendons, they're tearing their ligaments, they're dislocating, they're tearing dislocating their joints. So basically, especially the knee soft tissue injuries are common with people who work out a lot, and the ankle joint, knee and shoulder. So don't also try, as you try to be healthy, don't overdo it and end up unhealthy. Right? So it has to be a balance. Listen to yourself. Don't overdo it. I mean, you're not a boxing professional. You're not a footballer. So limit, especially with age. Limit. Listen to your body. Don't overdo it.
I've seen a case where an older gentleman went to play football with 20s and teenagers, and they tore something in their leg, and it took them almost 3 years to recover.
Exactly.
As in, is it expected that in your 40s plus now it takes longer to recover naturally compared to a younger person?
Yes. Your cell basically what we're discussing, your cell metabolism, your recovery rate is slower. Basically, it's generally just the thing. As your cells age, they're not as responsive towards healing and such. Yeah. So basically, it's just general science that a child in ICU is almost always expected to recover. An elderly gentleman in ICU, then the chances are less. Yeah, it is what it is. And that age and that quickness and that ability to recover is also a factor of how did the disease state find you. It finds you fit and healthy. Your chances of recovery are better than if it finds you unhealthy and fit. So 40s, 50s, 60s should find us flexible, don't lose your flexibility, right? Don't lose ability to stretch. Yeah, because you need to continue doing what you do at that age. You need to be able to stretch and pick an item from the board, the closet above. You need to be able to stretch and wash your feet. Basically, and train your body to do these things. You've seen fit women get pregnant, and almost nearing term, you see they can run and they have they pose zero risk to the babies in their tummies.
Yeah, I've seen that.
But yes. But you can't attempt that if you can't ask any random woman who's not fit enough to indulge in any heavy activity during pregnancy. They will lose the baby. Basically, your body can only take what you prepared it to take, right?
Sure. I've seen a comment from Jethro Ambugu saying, as you stay fit, remember you cannot outrun a bad diet. I guess we are coming to that. Nutrition.
Next is diet.
Awesome.
Next is diet. Then maybe I should even have finished with that, and then do health. Then come to diet, because
sure.
Diet is overriding factor basically.
Yeah.
But for health, it's quite straightforward. It's basically to say that health issues are commoner, more likely with age. There are more issues that will face an 80-year-old as opposed to a 10-year-old. Of course, there are diseases of the young and diseases of the old, but modifiable diseases, modifiable, what we call lifestyle-related conditions. Your wear and tear of your body, your sugars starting to misbehave, your pressures starting to misbehave, cancers probably that come from interaction with the environment, maybe chemical. So those things will come with age, and so with that, with that reality and fact is then 40 these challenges become even more likely. At 50, they're even much more likely. At 60, even much more likely. And so it becomes imperative at 40, if we didn't have this, if you haven't established, a program or a routine where probably you have yourself checked, then at 40 is a time to be reminded to again now pay more attention to our health. So annual medical checkups. If we don't do it, then this is the time to do it. I think that is an non-negotiable. You must visit a doctor or a health center at least once a year. You have to, no excuse.
For checks.
Yes, just for checks. Yeah, just for checks. Not when you're feeling bad. This is for checks. Dr. Irung will tell you need to see a dentist maybe even twice a year, even without any dental issue. But at least once at worst, right? You want your weight checked against your height, guys, to measure your tummy diameter. They tell you whether you need to modify anything. You want to be aware of your blood pressures. You may feel all okay, but things like hypertension, diabetes also come. They're more likely with age, right? So you need to be aware of your blood pressure. You need to be aware of your sugar levels. And for men specifically, we talk of the prostate. So the prostate tends to become larger with age. So say if you're 20, they say your prostate is about 20 grams or 20 cc's. And if you're 30, it should be around 30 cc's. If you're 40, it starts approaching 40 cc's, even though now 40 becomes large. But basically, you see the drift, that at 50, then the average prostate size will be like 50 grams. So you want to do modifiers to ensure your prostate doesn't catch up with you. So it's a controversial thing, but I don't think there's any problem with sex. So yeah, just have it as much as you want.
Sure, it is. So I will imagine then that all the things you mentioned tonight, from exercise, good diet, all these things, if you stay on top of them, then they'll help with controlling the growth of your prostate as well. Is that true?
Sure. Correct. Okay. That your diet will slow down how fast your prostate grows. Your exercise may modulate how beautiful your prostate looks. So as Jethro mentioned, nutrition, basically, we are coming back, and it's beautiful that the world is changing and realizing, the key role of nutrition in healthcare. We are going around the circle. As you began, you asked, were we trained nutrition in med school? I will outright tell you that the nutrition we were taught in school was a lie. Everything we were told is proving to be the opposite.
Wow.
And so if you meet a doctor who's not changed his mind, will tell you exactly the opposite of what you should be doing with your nutrition. So the things we're discussing, your exercise, your diet, which we are coming to, have a factor, direct or indirect, towards a faster growing prostate, a slower growing prostate.
So your prostate, I think, is something that is very critical for men, because a lot of men die of prostate cancer. Is it related? When your prostate is growing in size, does it mean that you are knocking on the door of cancer? It's natural?
It's two things. So the prostate can grow in size, what we call benign. Benign usually means the opposite of malignant. Malignant is what is cancerous. So the prostate can grow for growth, because it's expanding, the cells are expanding in size without it being cancerous per se. But the two tend to be related. That the bigger the prostate, the more likely that in there may be a cancerous cell. So they tend to go together, but they're not always together. So sometimes it grows without having cancer. But the larger it grows, the more we get worried and the more we have to test it. And there are a number of things that if you visit a doctor, they will do. So like, say, generally for the annual checkup, they check your blood. So they take a sample of your blood and you look at what we call prostate surface antigen. So usually these antigens, this is to things that they come from the prostate surface. And so they increase in number, the bigger your prostate, but to a certain limit. So they are cutoffs. So, and when it's cancerous, those antigens grow even faster. The numbers shoot even higher. So by that simple test, then the doctor can start having this fears that there may be something growing in your prostate, and so they will do more and see whether. The beauty is that you see things like why even discussing it at 40 is the fact that these are modifiable things. If you catch them early, it's curable. If we realize early that there's something in your prostate, then it can be sorted earliest, and that's it. It gets cured and you forget about it. It's basically like breast cancer. If it's caught early, it's almost a cure. It can be sorted. You catch it late, when it's gone, it's grown too big and gone to other organs. Then it becomes a little difficult process.
There's a burning question from Alex. Is it true that lack of frequent sex enlarges the prostate? It's a myth.
Quite controversial, It's I don't know. I've seen studies saying to either argument. So for a long time, there was a study that convinced many that the more you ejaculate, then the less the chance of getting prostate cancer. There are a few studies that have not shown any correlation between the two. I jotted a point here about erectile dysfunction.
Yeah, that's a good one.
One of those. As one of those things that we'll also face as approaching 40, which is also a factor of your lifestyle, your exercise, diet. Most times when the prostate grows too much, it interferes with the nerve that also supplies the penis, or if you undergo the procedure to remove the prostate, may interfere with that nerve that helps the penis, or some exercises, or like say cycling. Cycling is one of those things we promote, but cycling must be done properly, right? So your bike must be properly padded. Between your perineum needs to be properly padded, so that because that nerve, the nerve that supplies that carries with it the control towards the penis, it runs between your thigh, up there in your perineum. So you don't want to have too much pressure on it. So it eventually may have issues. So even as you do your exercise, make sure you're not harming yourself. So invest, if you can, invest in good shoes to protect your ankle joint, to protect your, if you're riding, invest in a proper bike, padding, and the perineum, of course, and the rest. Be aware of accidents. Protect your head, protect your joints, your elbows, and such. So prostate. So in summary, annual checkups, and within this annual checkup, then you must have your prostate level, prostate surface antigen checked. You want to catch any changes in your prostate because it's one of those commonest in men. You want to catch it early as possible. The other new one that is being introduced because of the numbers is rectal, cancer of the bowel, the large bowel, especially the last bit of the bowel as you empty, which is the rectum, which is called the rectum. So rectal cancer is also one of those that doctors can check, and if they find anything early. But if you're to be self-aware is if you see blood, but we need to tell each other that you must know what comes out. You must always see what comes out after you're pooping. Every so often, you need to look back and check before you flush. See, make sure you're not missing pus. You're not missing blood stains. So any feeling like incomplete emptying of the bladder is a thing you want to raise with the doctor. Any blood spots there, any pus there is a thing you must mention with the doctor. And then as the years go by, and if you have you have doctors close by, and at some point they may suggest that to do a procedure to just look through your rectum. You put in a scope like a camera to just look at your large bowel and see whether there's anything growing there that you want to catch early. So proper annual checkups, checking the bowel is one of those things that some people should do. Probably not yearly, but once you do one, because it takes a while for these things to grow. You do one, you can skip like 3 years before you do the next. But you want to catch, those are things you can catch early. If you're fortunate to be fortunate enough to have the resources to be in a setup where you can check a lot more. Check for pancreatic cancer. Make sure your liver looks good. Make sure your lung is clear. You need to know that your brain has nothing growing. Make sure your heart looks good. Basically, you can have a test to check. You need to have a test to check the heart, ECG and echoes. You need to have an ultrasound of the abdomen to make sure there's nothing obvious that is growing there, either in the liver, either in the spleen or the kidney. Pancreatic cancer is one of those that is a sad story, because most times are not. By the time you become aware symptomatically, by the time there are symptoms that take you to the doctor, most times are not, it's advanced. So the thing for us to know is that don't get treated too much for things like acid. Do a proper checkup and make sure there's nothing hiding, nothing, an underlying cause of the hyperacidity. For us who are little knowledgeable, don't get overtreated with H. pylori and such things, ulcers, and you've never had a proper check to make sure that there's nothing underlying. That ulcer may be a growth in the stomach. That ulcer may be acidity because of a pancreatic tumor. That lack of appetite, nausea, vomiting, or weight loss, unexplained weight loss, is one of those big pointers to pancreatic cancer or cancer of the gallbladder or so, or even liver. The liver though tends to give you pain around the liver. So sometimes, so any persistent recurring discomfort, be it the headache, pain in the stomach, go have a look, let the doctor touch, let them suggest a procedure, let them check and find nothing and go home, in peace. The other thing I may suggest to us is to probably add supplements for good health. Especially for men 40 and above. Collagen is one of those things that is catching up, especially in circles that are not medical. But collagen is one of those supplements that we should not disregard. Actually, I can outright say that unless you're sure your diet is fantastic, with bone soup, natural, well-fed, grass-fed animals, and so you're taking lots of bone-related, your diet, not just meat, because you find more of the collagen in bone and cartilage and the joints. So if we hardly get, especially with age, because you need the collagen to maintain your skin elasticity, slow down the wrinkles. So collagen, if you can afford it, the supplements are expensive, but you can try go natural, bone broth, bone soup, and bone related cartilage. But if you can, I think you need to start taking collagen supplements.
Mimi naona watu wanakula supu ya miguu ya ng'ombe. Hiyo inasaidianga?
Kula kabisa manze, eka hiyo kwa diet mzuri. Your joints will, collagen is good for your joints, it's good for your skin. So you will age slower. It's good for your hair. So collagen supplements is a must. So if you're sure your diet is not adequate with those collagen suppliers, I think you need to buy. You can they don't come cheap though, but you don't need to do them continuously. You can do a bottle for like a month or two, take a 3-month or 6-month break, get another bottle, do your supplements, take another break. So collagen as a supplement, vitamin C as a supplement, especially if your diet is not good on fruits. If you think your diet is short of fruits, then you can also throw in vitamin C supplements here, there, but for most of us, vitamin C, the quantities we need are so minimal. You can actually, with just a fruit here, there, you can do without. The other thing is skincare.
One's asking zinc, magnesium supplements.
Some of the supplements come with some zinc and magnesium.
Okay.
For those, then it's very easy to overdo because your system doesn't require a lot of zinc and magnesium. You realize those are metals, as opposed to something like, say, and that's why I said even vitamin C it's almost like it's a metal-ish. It's a vitamin, yes, but collateral is more of a tissue skin production. So you can't really have an overdose of collagen. But you can have an overdose, or you may be taking too much zinc, too much magnesium than you need. So those can be taken in moderation and with reasons. The other thing is skincare. Some of us are in professions that expose themselves to too much skin. You've seen like footballers, like say in professional football, professional sport that is exposed to sun. You've seen them suffer from skin cancer in their later years. So overexposure. Sun is good for your well-being, but overexposure to the sun may have issues later in life. So like if you find yourself, you're an engineer who's always out there, man, we need to also be softer. Apply some sunscreen, cover up, do a cape,
Hata kwa hii ngozi yetu bana, hii rangi yetu hii.
Too much. Our ngozi yetu ni tougher. It's tougher. Our skin is tougher. But and that's why I said if you think you're in a profession that is overexposed to the sun, consider protecting yourself. If you're always out there in the sun, consider sunscreen, consider shading your hair, such things.
Okay.
Right.
Those supplements are important, but you need to get good advice on it.
Yes, collagen is a non-negotiable.
Collagen is non-negotiable.
Yes.
Hiyo kwa health, kuna mtu ameuliza, are there any good men's health doctors you can recommend?
It's interesting that there are a lot of doctors who fashion themselves as the women's health, but very few who fashion themselves as men. We always find ourselves left out, in this health sphere. But I have a few friends, so guys can DM and I can refer them to a few of those urologists, and so if they can discuss men, probably awesome. It's important for me to mention,
carry on.
That for prostate, how would you tell that probably prostate is going too fast? If that urge to urinate, so basically the symptoms when it becomes larger, because it lies just below the bladder, so it presses on the bladder or stimulates the bladder outlet. So you end up you're peeing a little more often that you should than was your normal. You find that you never used to wake up in the middle of the night so often to go pee. You're starting to wake up in the middle of the night to go pee. Or when you're peeing, as you have the urge to pee, you feel like it delays to come out. You're pushing, but it's holding back, and then before it releases, and that becomes often, one-offs are okay. That becomes a persistent pattern. Then that is an issue. Or you think you're done, and then as you've zipped up and left, then you're dripping. And that becomes common, that you're commonly dripping. So those are among the things that should make you go check whether your prostate is
Can it be reversed? Can the prostate growth be reversed?
Medically, yes, the drugs to reduce its size. So you put on a drug that one helps with that overstimulation of the bladder. So you stop, those symptoms disappear of peeing on yourself, because it makes your life difficult. Imagine you're about to present, you're the CEO in a meeting, and then you've stained yourself. So the drugs to make sure to help with that overstimulation of the bladder, and then the same drugs also with time may reduce the size of that prostate. And of course, all this is if it's not cancer. If it's cancerous, then the treatment is different. And then underlying all this is that there's a strong argument for nutrition. If you get into a good nutrition, proper, nutritional package and diet, and avoid sugars and such, there are people who've seen their prostates reduce, right? Just for nothing but just good, proper nutrition. Yes, and exercise.
Hapo Greg ameuliza juu ya vitamin D. Sisi wenye tuko hapa pale hakuna jua. Ameuliza kama it's critical that we do vitamin D supplements.
Yes, you need to. For those of you like you guys, and even for us here in our setup, who, yes, we are here in the sun, or or UV light, but you may be in a lifestyle that is always under a roof. You're in a job setup where you're driving to work, park under that big building, go through the lift, then you're under an office that is fully covered. You're hardly getting adequate sunlight or UV light. You hardly have your weekend off to go out in the sun. So if you think you're not exposed enough to the sun, I think you should consider vitamin D supplement. Now, of all things that we've discussed, prostate, diabetes, hypertension, cigarette smoking is a risk factor. Alcohol beyond a certain level is a risk factor. So basically, cigarette smoking and alcohol. Cigarette smoking, you will find any benefits. I'm yet to come around any nicotine benefits. Minimal alcohol has its benefits. Alcohol, as they say, a thought a day may keep the doctor away. So some wine with your diet. Alcohol has it's a few advantages on your gut health and such. But too much alcohol also has always been a risk factor from direct irritation of your esophagus, stomach, esophageal cancer, stomach cancer, pancreatic cancer, to just the overuse, alcohol abuse, and eventually overloading your liver. Extreme alcohol abuse will cause liver failure, what you call liver cirrhosis, and eventually liver cancer and such. But I thought a day, a bottle, 1 or 2, like the green one we saw, is okay. Yes.
We can't argue.
So, Tunani's topic, Jethro's topic, nutrition, man. It's interesting that the system, we lost it at some point in history and took the wrong direction in matters nutrition. What we thought was good versus what we thought was bad. And most of it was because of either biased studies or basically, guys, just fraud, to sell in industry. So we've always been against animal, meat. We've always been against animal fat. We've mentioned a lot to do with sugar, with salt. But turns out those were our biggest risks. Those are the things we were meant to avoid. So carbohydrates, sugar. So and it's a discussion you can have here the whole day. But the bottom line is this: that for nutrition, you must find a way to reduce your carbohydrate intake. You must find a way to cut out your direct sugars completely. You must find a way to cut out any, adding sugar to your tea, that you must find a way to completely eliminate. You must find a way of completely avoiding soda, avoiding juice, because that is direct sugar. Of course, we're not saying that. I mean, you just down a bottle of soda, one-off really won't kill you. But if you're consistently on processed sugars, then they tend to catch up with you with time. So the summary is that basically our the way we are meant to be, basically as animals, we were meant to do meat, animal food. You're meant to hunt, eat that rabbit whole, find a way of skinning, chewing the bones, drinking its blood, milking them for the milk, eating the meat, storing the fat to as energy, boost, using that fat to prepare our meals, and then gathering fruits here there. Nowhere in that long past was there maize or wheat or sorghum. There was no ugali in the past to eat with the nyama. Yes. There was no chapati to eat with the nyama. Yeah, you're supposed to live on nyama and nyama alone, and animal products and a few fruits here there. There was no, there were a few herbs here there probably, but a whole plate of sukuma wiki or a whole plate of cabbage. So the summary is this: carbs must be reduced, especially processed.
Wachana na
ugali kabisa. Of course, it's easier said than done, right? Yeah, because it takes a lot. Sugar is kind of addictive, eh? So you can't just wake up and decide I'm off sugar. You'll be sick. You'll get withdrawal symptoms, right? Yeah, so it has to be a slow. It has to be a slow, progressive process of cutting down and reducing and such to eventually say, sasa, I'm living healthy. Yeah, so basically carbs 0, the things to take. Animal nyama is the thing. There's not too much nyama, because in our system, our bodies do not have the capacity to over digest, over absorb protein, but our bodies have unlimited capacity to retain all the sugars you give it. So it will absorb all the sugar you give it, utilize the sugar it needs to utilize, and store the rest of the extra sugar as fat. So sugar, and sugar I mean carbohydrates. Remember, carbohydrates, it's sugars that made up the carbohydrate complex, right? So carbohydrate and sugar is the same thing. So when I say sugar, I mean carbohydrate. I say carbohydrate is sugar. So you take a whole gunia of ugali, your body will store the whole gunia of ugali, utilize the energy you need that day, and store the rest as fat. It will go through the liver, get processed and stored and converted to fat. So basically, it's your carbohydrates and sugars that make you fat, not your animal fat and beef and such, because your body will not take more protein than it needs. So you can't take too much to be converted to anything.
So I've had a case where someone has been told to stop eating meat, that meat is risking them getting cancer. Is that?
That is not correct. The only scenario where meat becomes an issue is where you already have issues, like say, and this is specifically with the processing of protein. So if you have renal issues, if you have ongoing renal issues, then your capacity to excrete, to remove the extra protein is limited. So then, and your body does not know how to store extra protein. So that becomes a load on your kidneys. Yeah, so if you have ongoing kidney issues and you want to limit your protein intake so that you don't overload an organ that is already failing. But the meat will not cause the organ to fail. It's other factors that will make the kidney to fail, and so then the kidney will find problems in processing and excreting your meat.
Maybe the way the meat is prepared, is nyama choma particularly, does it have more ammonia than is necessary for the system? Could it be a risk?
The preparation has to do with let's say nyama choma, the smoke.
Yes.
Yes, how you prepare. Like say if you're chomaing, I've seen people even choma with gas.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you've seen them, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, gas is a chemical by itself. A chemical is, yes. So then meat will absorb whatever comes to it. So meat may absorb the smoke. And I think there are studies that have shown that that process of smoking usually leaves agents on your meat. It also converts your proteins into chemicals that can trigger or has been shown to trigger cancer. So I think of course, and science is quite dynamic and it changes. For now, as far as I know, is that smoking may not be the best way to do your choma. The heat rather than smoked. They used to smoke it until you get that smoke. Yes. So smoking, or I think at worst, don't be found preparing nyama choma with gas. This unless it's methane gas. I don't know how safe methane gas, biogas is. But this kawaida gas cylinders, do not be tempted into taking those shortcuts of chomaing nyama directly on gas, right?
Superb. So Wambugu says, I agree. Keeping off sugar is easier said than done, but bottom line, carbs are bad. The sweeter they are, the more ominous they are likely to be. And soda and juices are a no-no. So yeah, he's agreeing. I think we agree that from what you've said, sugar is basically a poison. You should just label it poison when it's in your shelf, so you don't take it.
Tell him I would want to hear his voice.
Yes, please. Just for
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Wambugu.
Yes, I'm alive and keenly following.
Yes.
Right. And then Kimani says, highlight something about gout.
Yeah. So once you find yourself unable to process for whatever reason, your kidneys are an issue or so, then gout basically is some acid called uric acid. It piles up in your system, and when it piles up in your system, it prefers certain parts of the body, so it goes and pulls, especially around your joints. And for some reason, it likes the big toe, the big toe of the foot. It likes that particular place, and so those chemicals, those urate crystals, they pile up in your system, so the system is unable to excrete those crystals for a reason within your kidneys, and so they pile up and they cause damage. So it's those uric crystals that, again, bottom line, lifestyle. I don't know if Wambugu may want to add, or anyone, regarding meat as a cause of gout. I've seen guys refuse to, newer studies refuse to directly relate, like too much meat, because the feeling is that you must have other underlying issues that are, like we're saying, that are making your body not process the meat properly. And that underlying issue is what you need to act on, rather than blame meat directly as a cause of gout. Then again, but once you have an issue with the gout, like uric acids are elevated, or your kidney is not functioning well, then you have no option but to limit your protein, your meat intake, right? So then you have to substitute it with other kind of proteins.
Lewis, if I may,
yes,
just a minute. Anecdotally, they report that for men who have gout, they report more flare-ups on Sundays and Mondays, because since Friday evening, a guy went out, has been on nyama choma, that is basically red meat, and his Tusker. So when you break down the proteins that you have in red meat, you end up not getting that uric acid. Then it piles up or collects like in your joints. And then now you get those crystals, like uric acid, now crystallizing into crystals, which you find a guy, walked upstairs to the bar, but cannot walk back down because of the pain there is in his big toe. I'm even aware of someone I know who had to call the wife to come and carry him from the bar to the car, the hospital. So yeah, the numb is real. and now combined with the alcohol, but perhaps now with maybe other confounders. Yeah.
Is it a precursor to any other failure in the body in itself when someone is developing gout?
What I'll say is that it can lead to things like it can overwhelm your kidney. Yeah? It can also clog your kidney and you may end up with like renal failure. But mostly it attacks your joints. It may be the reason you have to have that knee replacement. Maybe the reason you may have a toe amputated. Because what happens is that those crystals they absorb, they resorb, they erode the bones. So it eats your bone. So the longer it takes before it's properly treated. So the longer you take to seek attention, then the worse the damage on whatever part, basically mostly on your bones, on your joints and bones. I was looking for some screenshot that I took the other day regarding diet. I saw someone give some very nice presentation. So I took a screenshot of he had broken down the food to consume, to very to tangible items. So basically, he had 3 columns of to consume in moderate, and to ditch. So I'll read the list of to ditch. So to ditch, there is sugar in all forms, and sugar by the way is including fructose, which is the biggest component in fruits. You've seen people avoid meals, like they carry a whole bowl of fruits, salad, fruit salad.
Yeah.
And they think, so they're skipping meals and consuming that for lunch. So basically they're skipping, say, beef, and burger to eat fruits, a bowl of fruits. Yes. They're actually doing the opposite. They're actually piling up weight on themselves because they're consuming a bowl of fruits, which is a bowl of fructose, which is a bowl of sugar. So yes, so fruits, take your fruits for vitamin C and such, not to be, you don't need more than a fruit a day. Half a fruit, watermelon mzima, it's pointless. So basically ditch all sugars, ditch seed oils, so vegetable oil, sunflower oil. For oils, the only good oil, the best oil is animal fat. Only that it's difficult to consume. Most of us, the taste, we are not used to the taste. So basically, we should be using animal fat for animal fat and animal fat products, ghee and butter are the things we should consume rather than seed oils. So avoid seed oils, avoid vegetable oils and such.
At olive oil.
Olive oil iko sawa.
Okay.
There's olive oil. I think olive oil is okay, and for one reason, that it's quite stable under high heat. So it doesn't. So what happens is it's the way we prepare our meals. So that process of frying your food, oil under high heat is what produces those chemicals that are cancerous.
Oh, no.
That produce this basically high heat oxidizes your oils.
Yes.
Oxidation basically leaves it active. So it wants to bind onto your cells and such. So they are cancer triggers when they are oxidized. So olive oil is quite stable under high heat, so it doesn't oxidize as much. And that's why olive oil is considered safe. Yes. So avoid wheat and wheat products. Chapati, uji, sijui brown mkate, sijui brown kwanza wa folks who are diabetic anasema yeye anakula sijui brown rice peke yake, brown mkate. I don't know where that lie came from. Those are the things they must avoid.
So Bwana Lewis, if you eat nyama and mboga and uende gym, utasukuma chuma kweli? See, I think you need carbs to have energy.
Once mwili imezoea, that lack of energy that you think you don't get from nyama and nini, it's the withdrawal from sugar that gives you that feeling of weak and like you're missing something. It's the sugar withdrawal. But once you get used to it, because you see, they're also in this other lifestyle of anti-carbohydrate and sugar, there's animal fat. You've seen Maasais used to have this thing they make. I think they call it nyer. they use animal fat and they crystallize it nicely, and they you know, it's their breakfast, and they carry along. You take a scoop of that oil and like ni nyama imesiagwa kiasi, and they bite on those things. Those things are major energy boosts. Find energy boost. Oil is a serious major. If you find a way of consuming oily animal products just before your gym, it gives you, it has a better punch of energy and it stays longer. Eggs, you can consume, you can bite, you can do an egg or two. The other thing is eggs. Eggs are fantastically safe.
Yeah.
And even as we discuss about animal, beef and eggs, and those animals must be properly raised, right? They need to be grass-fed, so that then you're also consuming the right beef and the right eggs. So when it's also too modified, then in there lies other issues regarding how the meat was preserved, how the cows was, those are underlying issues that then negate the benefits of animal products and such. But yeah, so the bigger picture is basically avoid sorghum, wheat, avoid soy. Wanapenda soy. Processed foods, of course, is straightforward. Moderate consumption are complex carbohydrates, things like beans, sweet potatoes, arrowroots, butternuts, green bananas, pumpkins, cassava, nuts, millet, sorghum. Then those can be taken in moderation, because they're complex carbs, so they don't give you that punch of sugar, which is what is the triggers for things like diabetes. Yeah. So basically,
that's why I see people who have diabetes eating ugali ya wimbi instead of ugali ya mahindi.
Yes. But at the end, they must remember that is still a carbohydrate, so it must be taken in moderation.
Okay.
Because any excess of it again will be excess on your body, which then stores extra fat. When you're discussing extra storage of fat, it's because excess fat comes with issues. It gives you metabolic syndromes that will eventually, basically, fat is an organ by itself. Too much fat then interferes with your body balance, because fat will store hormones, including estrogen. So if you have too much fat, then your hormone balance is off. So it interferes with the processing. If the same fat piles up in your liver, it eventually interferes with your liver function. So you end up with a fatty liver. Fat likes the liver a lot. Fat likes the pancreas a lot. You end up with a fatty pancreas.
Fatty liver. I've heard of that. What's that?
Yes.
What's that fatty liver thing?
Basically, it's fat infiltrating around the cells of the liver. So if your liver is 15 centimeters long, maybe 50% of it is fat, and it's only 50 that is now the good liver that is supposed to function well. So the other thing that happens, what happens is that your liver function in what it's supposed to do to excrete your toxins then becomes limited. Now the fat itself is in nature is how fat operates. It will take over. It will form fibrous tissues in your liver, which then will take over your liver function. So it will shrink. It will basically have more fatty fibrous tissue within your liver and less of the normal liver, which eventually can also cause liver cirrhosis. Liver cirrhosis is a condition that's mostly associated with alcohol. So too much fat can end up with a liver that looks like a guy who drank too much. And it's interesting that also drinking too much causes a fatty liver.
Okay.
When the liver is too overwhelmed with too much alcohol than it can process, eventually kills the normal cells and generates more fatty cells, which eventually causes a fatty liver and eventually liver cirrhosis and eventually liver cancer. So those complex carbs can be taken, but in moderation, so that then you're not overwhelming your body with a good carbohydrate to the level that it's forced to convert it to fat to store, and so you end up with too much fat. Hormonal imbalance, when the fat has too much estrogen, then it brings risks. Estrogen is a trigger for many pathologies, including prostate cancer, breast cancer, even for men, and almost, a majority of the cancers will have an underlying trigger with, too much fat, heavy, and that's why weight. They'll tell you that like in med school, the things in the exam, in those essays, risk factors for a certain condition. You just close your eyes and say there, overweight, sugar, alcohol, cigarette smoking. You already have your 5 points. Like that can be repeated everywhere. Get? Yeah. And so consume. So you have this list of the things you need to consume: proteins and animal fats, beef, chicken, fish, sardines, the omenas, the eggs, cruciferous veggies, cruciferous veggies are like sukuma wiki, the broccolis, because they have a good punch of, those the vitamins that you need. Avocado, I think it's a repeat of animal fats. Animal fats will include things like tallow, ghee, lard, butter, cheese, basically that will be the take home regarding nutrition.
Thank you.
Yes.
I thought you were telling us to become vegetarians and vegans tonight. That is something that people are really preaching nowadays? That go vegan, go vegetarian, avoid animal. But your emphasis is on wholesome, healthy living, not self-flagellation by kujaribu kumiza ulimi, kutesa ulimi.
Vegans will have issues with maintaining certain. Most vegans will have to be on supplements, because there's a lot that you miss out by not taking animal products. So a fully vegan lifestyle or a fully vegan diet is a difficult, has its own health issues, because also vegetables are not your main suppliers of the things that you actually need. So it should be more of animal fat, animal products, and then lesser of the vegetables, right? All righty, man. We've been speaking for an hour.
Awesome. Thank you. That has been very insightful. Guys, let's give a round of applause for Lewis, he has given us some proper content, like something you'd go out there to get as a consultant, medical consultants to give you at top dollar. I can see the kudos are being aired on by everyone. Thanks, guys. You can unmute yourself, ask a question.
Maybe a question for the doc. These are Alex. What's the relationship between physical fitness or exercising and the mental fitness? Because I think there has been a lot of theories that when you're stressed, go to the gym or exercise and you'll be okay. I've tried it out and I feel refreshed after that, but I've never understood what's the science behind it. Although don't get into medical terms, but in a layman's language.
Yes, Alex, it has to be medical term. Basically, it's the endorphins. It's the hormones, the good, the endorphins are called the happy hormones. What exercise triggers is it stimulates the production of those endorphins, the happy hormones. The complex in it is that those hormones act on some other hormones that are hormones that promote cell health and cell metabolism, and so at the end of it, you feel happy and relaxed and keeps away disease. And then generally, socially, is that being there and focusing on an item that is rewarding is makes you happy and makes you block off the world and may stimulate a happy feeling, a good environment, which also is a direct reduction on the negatives of stress or the environment you were in before, and so it gives you a break from the bad thoughts, right?
So myself, I'm quite happy. You've validated quite a few things that I've seen in my own life. For example, my dad was diagnosed with diabetes about 5 years ago, and has been on a strict vegetable and meat diet for that period, and he's not taken medicine since then, and is happy having his beer every other weekend. He's able to balance his sugars completely. So that's a validation.
Great.
Also, the issue of having animal fats as opposed to being vegan. My grandfather is 106 years old. All he eats is fatty meat. Okay, doesn't take alcohol, but he has some other herbs that he uses natural. That may be add to his health. So that's another validation. What I wanted to know is, I feel there's a connection between diabetes and, of course, there's memory loss, but dementia, because it's coming up quite a lot. So I'm assuming it's connected to sugar imbalances and diabetes and this.
What happens is that, and it's interesting that as a radiologist, like in a day, I may see like 20 brains. And so I'll see the changes in the brains, and then I've indicated why they are checking the brain, and so you will see their lifestyle there, and then correlate with the findings. What happens is that when your pressures are high, or sugars are out of control, or when your fat metabolism is not proper, is that what suffers, the things that suffer the most are the organs that are supplied by the smallest of vessels, the end arteries. Of course, if you're going to clog anything, if anything is going to damage, the smaller things will damage earlier than the larger organs. The larger organs have better room, or the larger vessels have better room to manipulate the changes, to accept the changes. And the organs that have those terminal or smallest of vessels are your kidneys. As they exchange, eventually as your blood passes and becomes urine, they're very tiny vessels that are in those organs. And so if you're going to damage anything because of changes in your fat or sugar or pressures, those are the organs that will suffer. And that's why you see renal failure in commonly in lifestyle related issues. The heart, the vessels that supply the wall of the heart are some of the smallest vessels in your system. So the wall of the heart will suffer earliest when your sugars and your fat metabolism and your pressures are too high. Your eyes, at the terminal, at the back of your mind, at the back of the eyes, in those small structures that enable you to see, have these tiny vessels. Those are the vessels that will get clogged or damaged or will bleed when your pressures are high or your sugars are out of control. And the sugar with vessel relate like this, that sugar irritates. So when your blood is too sugary, then it causes, basically late term is irritation of the cell wall, or of the vessel wall, which then will react by thickening, and if they thicken, they clog. So you end up with visual damage. So this is where I'm headed. The other place where you have these tiny vessels is in your brain. Within, the brain has two layers. It has an outer layer that is what you call gray matter, and an inner layer that is white matter. At that junction has this tiny, where the arterial blood and eventually exchanges into venous blood. So those tiny vessels will also suffer, for reasons like pressures and sugars and fat metabolism, or any other triggers, including HIV, because even the virus itself irritates vessels. And so that slow progressive damage onto those vessels in your brain through time, because of prolonged high sugars, prolonged high pressures, prolonged high viral load, say in HIV, prolonged whatever chemical in your system, or is it too much alcoholism? And there's something called alcoholic encephalopathy. So alcohol irritation of the brain. So extreme alcoholism through the years. So we'll eventually irritate those areas. And with time, they get damaged, they shrink, they become smaller. So as you age with a small brain, then the brain does not function as it should. So for dementia, when you image, you see a smaller brain than you'd expect for that age. It has shrunken a little faster than it should. So they start losing memory, they start losing control of their bodies or motor. Maybe they're shaking, their vision is poor, they cannot control their muscles properly. So those are among the commonest causes of age-related dementia. Of course, there are other causes of dementia that are not fully explained. People have thought it's genetic, things like Alzheimer's, but you find that they become more common with people who also have other lifestyle issues. They're probably overweight, obesity, or they've had pressures and sugars. So again, and you find that there are people who've seen nutrition modify some of those findings. People change nutrition and the brain starts regaining volume. And so again, back to the guys who are pro nutrition. So with good nutrition, good exercise, you release those good hormones that stimulate cell metabolism, then you keep dementia away. The guys even dementia patients who, when they're focused on exercise, they have better control of their system. So I think the guys who've tried to show directly that exercise and diet has a role in slowing down the degeneration of your brain and such. I think that was my winding up response. I don't know if it made sense, but yeah. So, Kim.
Perfect explanation. Thank you very much. That has made a lot of sense.
Thanks, Kim. Any other questions? I think we've really pushed our time. We're almost coming to 2 hours. Yeah, we invite 1 or 2 more questions before we wind up.
I can see Jethro saying the feel-good hormones, endorphins, are also released during sex. Correct. So the more sex you have, the healthier you may and the longer you may live.
Okay.
I have a quick comment.
Yeah.
Mostly on diet. Sugar isn't bad just for we who are now approaching middle age. It's really bad for children, as far as teeth are concerned, because these simple sugars are easy to break down. Of course, kids won't brush their teeth very well, so those food remnants are what the oral bacteria feed on. They produce lactic acid, which causes tooth decay, and you sometimes find a 3-year-old with all their 20 teeth having the caries or cavities. So we need to really watch how much sugar our kids are taking, because you get decay, which is quite rampant, even at very early ages. And avoid being given lollipops and cookies and sweets for change, and avoid picking up sweets as you finish paying at the till, at the convenience store, the supermarket, because they're kept there to entice you and to entice the kids. And you see, if kids come and they have their milk teeth extracted, they could lose a bit of their jaw arch space and end up getting issues with malocclusion, crookedness later in life, or they move now from having decayed milk teeth to decayed permanent teeth, requiring lots of dental work, which is very expensive. So diet, especially the highly refined sugars, bad for everyone. Also because kids cannot express themselves well. They're in pain, they can't say where the pain is coming from. It's much more difficult to manage a child with a toothache than it is to manage a grown-up. You may need to inject some anesthesia, to drill something, have suction things in the mouth. So diet is key. Thanks.
Superb. Thanks, Jethro. Eric Irungu, as the other medic in the house, maybe you could chime in with a little nugget.
Thanks. Good evening to the ones out, and said good evening too. This thing of sweets, I think, is also quite major, and it has come to a point even in schools. They give you a sweet or a biscuit just to show you you've done well in school. And we've tried activism here in Kenya to stop the sweets being put at the supermarket tills. It's not really been successful, because as you can see, this company will stop, but the chocolates will come in. So most of the sugary stuff is still there. But now schools, you'll find your child has come with a sweet and they'll tell you it's because they're able to spell this word or do this thing. And we've had to sometimes talk to the school administration and tell them it's a very good gesture, but there are other ways to motivate the child without actually giving the sugary food. So yes, it is something that we tend to overlook and take for granted and say that have this sweet. But having worked in the public sector, right now I'm currently in Naivasha, a place where it is the norm. You are given a sweet for every good thing you do. And it makes me sad every day when I go there and I'll find 3-4 kids with decayed teeth that could easily have been avoided by avoiding the sugary stuff. So still weighing in on Jethro's point that if we can, let's really avoid, at least for the kids, the sugary foods. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks.
Eric, before you sign out, now
yes,
that you come from Naivasha, tell us about fluorosis. And now that we're in these gated communities where we most times are not, the norm has been, borehole water. Even in places like Nairobi, most Nairobi suburbs now are almost fully on borehole water. The risks to our unborns and the young ones,
So there are parts of Kenya, especially those in the Rift Valley, that have higher levels of fluoride in their water than other parts. Yeah. And what fluorosis basically does, it affects all the hard tissues in the body. And in the body, we have two main hard tissues. We have bone and we have teeth. And anyone who has fluorosis is measured in, let me call them international units. So up to a certain level, it is accepted. And that's why we have fluoride in the toothpaste. Why? Because fluoride below 1 part per million, I think, is actually beneficial to you and strengthens the hard tissue. And it is actually necessary in the diet to a small extent. However, beyond 1 part per million, then it becomes detrimental to the hard tissue. And what we have in Naivasha, Nakuru, some parts of Kajiado County, some parts of Machakos County, and many other areas in Kenya to a smaller extent, is fluoride levels higher than 1 part per million. So that what that leads to is discolored teeth, teeth mainly brown, and that is in moderate. That is in mild presentation. We have the teeth not appearing uniformly white. We call it a mottled appearance. Then moderate, where the brown spots are more visible, but the teeth are not really chipped. To the severe presentation, where the teeth are chipped, obviously discolored, usually brown. And to some extent, such people may have a problem with their bones. And it's good to just confirm the levels of all the other fluorides, all the other chemicals. Okay, that's vitamin D, just so that you don't end up with a whole myriad of complications as far as skeletal development is concerned. What I advise people who live there, if you have to buy your water, especially drinking water, first of all, to go back, any water that enters your body will affect, be it from drinking, be it from cooking. If the plants in your backyard are being watered with water that has high levels of fluoride, these will also affect, because so long as it is being consumed in your body, it will basically affect the development of these hard tissues. So what I advise people who live in such areas, if you've decided you'll be buying drinking water from this company, yes, do buy the water, but take it to either a private or a government lab and confirm the levels of fluoride in it. That's number one. Two, if you can harvest rainwater, there really may be no better water than that. So if you can harvest rainwater, then you're probably okay. Three, even if you live in an area which has piped water that is probably quite safe for drinking, still good to confirm the fluoride levels. The only positive thing, it affects mainly kids between 2 and 8 years, which is when the permanent teeth are developing. Now here, I'm disregarding the milk teeth, but the milk teeth can also be affected. But focusing on the permanent teeth, which you will have all your life, it is critical between the ages of, let's say, 2 and 9 to make sure that the fluoride levels are below a certain level. After that, they probably won't affect the other teeth much, though there are still teeth that develop after that. So yeah, it is good to monitor the fluoride levels in your water. Yeah, thank you.
Let me just chip in a little, Doc.
Sure, Doc.
Yeah, regarding fluorosis, there's actually like a pandemic, because now the housing units being put up are many more than, let's say, the counties can supply like properly treated water. Nairobi, you get water once a week, twice a week. So of course, I put up a block of flats, I sink a borehole, pump water upstairs, I supply water to everyone. And my selling point is there's pressure 24 hours a day. Now the challenge is that groundwater is what has this high amount of fluoride. And you see Nairobi, if you're in the areas of Uko, Ruaraka, a bit of Thika Road, Uko, Babadogo, the area of Langata, heading over to Karen, Dagoretti, Ngong, Kiserian, Ronga, Uko, that's like a proper fluoride belt. Unfortunately, the results, as Eric said, will only show up when the kid, between the time the kid gets their teeth, which is about 6 months until 2 years or so, they have nice looking milk teeth, because those teeth started developing when they were in their mother's womb. But when they get wind at 6 months, and you're boiling your water so that you can make it clean, you boil your water which has fluorosis, you even actually like make it more concentrated, because it's like leached within the water itself. And now we have lots of kids who they're getting the permanent teeth coming out at 5.5, 6 years of age. They have some bad fluorosis. So if you have children under the age of 8 years, please have that water like tested at labs, government chemists. In Nairobi, you have a place in South Bay, Water Resources Management Authority, Warma lab somewhere, I think on Baricho Road. Have it tested, and remember, the level of fluoride fluctuates when it's like hot like this and the water table has gone a bit low. It's a bit more concentrated. When it rains, water table rises, it gets a bit less. So don't test when it's rainy. You're like, this one is safe. You still use that borehole water right now. You may end up getting kids who have teeth which are so badly discolored. They're only 7, 8 years old, and they're like disease for life. Fluorosis is like if you're, let's say, doing a construction, you're mixing up your mixture for cement, sand, and water. Instead of cement, you put soil, and you mix it up, and you cast that beam, that column. You see, it will be there standing, yes, but its strength isn't as good as if you had proper cement. Then the color now, it is the tooth's innate structure, so you cannot quite alter it. It's not possible to like completely change a fluorous tooth, because that thing was like put in during formation of the dentine. So it's mostly for kids, because for anyone above the age of 9, 10, I mean, even if you drink like, fluorine when it's in a glass, may affect your bones, yes, but then it might resolve even as you eat and maybe get treated, because bone is dynamic. You keep resolving, depositing bone, but once teeth have formed, you can't alter the tooth structure. So if not for anything else, please test your water for the sake of children who are under the age of 8 years. As Eric said, if you have like a garden over there in the backyard, you're watering your spuma, your whatever it is, you're using borehole water, you'll have your vegetables have that high amount of fluoride. You're making your tea, if you brew your tea, like you extract more of the fluoride. They don't recommend kids under 12 to take a lot of tea, but if you must give them tea, maybe use tea bags and only put them in the tea when it has boiled. Don't brew tea for children. You can take it. Your teeth are already formed. So it's a proper public health issue, and it really is bad when you have kids get the permanent teeth, which now come when they are really discolored, and you can't do anything about it. And if it comes to it, kindly consider any water you take in for drinking, for cooking. When just buy the water like in the super, wherever the caring gets the Aquamist, at least it's tested. Instead of, let's say, taking your borehole water and boiling it and use it for for cooking and then for cooking for your kids. There's someone who said that then they normally boil the borehole water and they cook with it, and then they buy water for washing clothes. It's supposed to be the reverse. Like buy that water, buy your Keringet, make your tea, make your kids' food using that Keringet water. You can wash your clothes with whatever water you come across. It's a real public health issue. I had to chip in.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mbogo.
Thanks,
It's sad. Yes, it's sad because you're saying, young kids coming in from gated communities around Nairobi suburbs with yellow teeth. It's sad, man. It's sad.
The public health concern, and I know thank you for that. You've hammered that in, and I think it's well understood that does domestic reverse osmosis remove fluoride from borehole water?
The answer is yes, it does. It does reduce the amount of fluoride in the water, but it is more qualitative. It's not like quite quantitative. What you need to do is to test the water like before it's reverse osmosis treated and see that the water had, let's say, 6 parts per million. When I have done RO on it, has come down to 0.9 parts per million. Remember, these RO membranes normally degrade. So whereas it could reduce from 6 parts per million to, let's say, 0.9 parts per million, a year down the line, maybe now, let's say, inefficient. bring it down now from 6 to 2 parts per million. Then, if my water had 3 parts per million, yours had 6 parts per million, will mine come down to the same 0.9 parts per million? Will it come down to 0.5 parts per million? Eh? So one still must do like a lot of repeat testing, because reverse osmosis, yes, it does to an extent reduce the fluoride level, but it's quite qualitative. It's not like quite quantitatively like predictable.
I'll just pitch in. The RO systems do actually work, but like you said, the Bambogo, this is a system that needs to be maintained over time. So you can't install it for life. It's similar to your car. You have to change your filters, you have to change your oil. It's the same thing with this system. So they do work, but again, it really depends with the quality of the water you're putting in. They're just everything off the shelf won't work directly for your water if it has too many dissolved solids or too much fluorine and etc. It has to be specific to your condition.
Kim, are you a supplier?
Thanks,
Kim. The beverage industry, so for a long time, so part of the systems that
I will reach out on the side so that you supply me with one, or refer me to someone.
Sure. No your closing remarks, Dr. Bundi.
Guys, again, thank you for. I'm honored to have for you to for those who've stayed with us through this long discussion. Basically, and so thank you for meeting up again. We are happy to see some of these faces that you haven't seen in years. So my parting shots, basically, it's a call to action. Yeah, let's not this discussion be in vain. Plan a checkup, and let's change our lifestyles. Cheers, man.
Thank you so much. Mine will just be a verse that highlights what Dr. Bundi has said. It is a verse that says, now that you know these things, you'll be blessed if you do them. Yes, so action. As you said, the most basic, as Dr. Bundi has said, is to have your medical checkup, go for your MOT, yeah. And then from there, start small. Start small things that you learned tonight, and let's progress. And I'm proposing, as a way of getting us into action, we can have another WhatsApp group just called Mang'u Health and Wellness. For those who are voluntary joiners, it doesn't have to be everyone. You can join that group, and then whenever you do something that is healthy, just to keep you motivated, you can post. You can say, guys, I went for my health MOT today, and it was a very good one. I went to this hospital. So that group is just for posting health stuff, health and wellness stuff. I'm going to start it tonight. Even if it's 2 people in there, I hope many will join. I hope all of you in this meeting will join that group so that we keep energizing each other, telling each other we can be fit, we can be healthy, and we can stay disease-free by God's grace late into our old age. And we look forward to having another meeting like this one. Let me know if any of you want us to discuss another topic on health or any other topic you'd like us to bring into Mang'u Live in the coming months. Please inbox me and we can have it brought up so that we're able to continue educating and encouraging each other. Thank you so much. I'll stop recording now so that we just have time for those who are going to stay behind to say hello, to maybe have some banter. You're free to do so. Otherwise, you're also free to leave as you may wish. Thank you so much. God bless.